is going on, everybody? Welcome in to the North End Podcast, episode 140. My name is Zach Graham, your host here in the North End, joined, as always, by my good buddy. He's on record as my best friend. His name is Ian Michaud, and we call him E. He's sitting here Sunday afternoon, coming off another result on the road. Everybody's favorite team. You and I did not watch together this weekend. So I ask you, as I always do, how you feeling, my friend?
I am feeling quite well. Had a very nice weekend, and then got to catch this game. And we had a mission, and we went up there and we completed the mission. Got some points. Not here to win any sort of beauty pageant. We're here to get points on the road and then maintain the home fortress. So I am quite satisfied with our performance. It wasn't the prettiest by any stretch of the imagination, but the mission was accomplished. And they're a very good team, that Vancouver Whitecaps team. It was a packed place, the largest in their team history, right? Or was it even close to MLS? They were saying history with how many people they had in there.
I think they said they had 30,000. If I'm not mistaken.
It was packed.
Messi is doubling that in some half of the places he goes on the road. But for them, it was 50th anniversary game for them, which I think to the day is actually today on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking before the match, right? Like, how do we feel about this huge crowd there in Vancouver? And I think I told you, I was like, I'm into it because every time we've gone up there, we've lost. And they haven't had any fans when we've gone up there before. So let's try this out. And came home with point. And again, that is the goal on the road, at least with the current iteration of this roster.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll recap the Vancouver match here on episode 140. We've got last business day, right? Recapping Rapids 2. We'll check in on Damien. We've got an academy update. And then our good buddy, Tom Bogert, returns to the North End for the third time. So actually, our most recurring guest now. And we're like 3 months away, I think, from the TNEP 2-year anniversary. So the fact Tom Bogert has made the time for us, not once, not twice, but 3 times now. Love Tommy Scoops. So that's coming up at the end of the episode. And definitely looking forward to that. But before we jump in to all of that, just want to remind you all to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcast if you haven't yet, and you've got those 5 extra seconds. And of course, if you're watching on the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. It helps us grow the podcast. You can hit the notification bell to know when a live stream pops up or a new episode goes live. And of course, on this episode, hit that thumbs up, like the video, help us battle the YouTube algorithm overlords. Atone for your sins, which you can also do by leaving a comment and joining in on the discussion. Any and all of that you would do for us. We would love you for it. Wash yourselves clean in the waters of the North End, north of the border, on Saturday, taking on the Vancouver Whitecaps. Of course, injury report came out on Friday. And we did get on Thursday, of course, media availability where Coach Wolf said, unless there was a setback, Leo Väisänen would be traveling with the team. And he did confirm that Danny Pereira was out. And luckily, no other surprises on the injury report come Friday. And then we did see Leo Väisänen on the bench. And I think really what we expected from Wednesday's episode was what we saw in the 11, right?
Yeah.
The Punisher replacing Danny Pereira in that starting 11. And the rest of the group unchanged, right? Rigoni still up there, occupying the wing opposite of Hodder O'Brien. And again, I don't need to go through the rest of the 11 since it has, we've had a decent bout of consistency over the last month, with which also lines up with the recent success. The bench was Cleveland, Väisänen, active again, first time since week 1, I believe. Hedges, Jimenez, Kolmanich, Wolf, Fodre, Finley, and Zardes. So your thoughts on injury report and lineup?
I'll start with the injury report. You get the news about Danny, and that's all the writing on the wall you need to know that this game was going to be one where we're sitting way back, right, sitting defensively, letting Johan do his thing, being physical. I think he was the only Johan, that is the only guy on the FOTMob rating report who actually had over a 7. He was very solid. You know what you're going to get out of him, and you know the limitations that he has. And when we don't have Danny, that really disrupts how we move the ball forward. So I thought the game plan fell right into alignment with who was available and what we were going to be rolling out there versus this Vancouver team. In regard to the 11, like you said, no big changes, nothing really popping off there, but you like to see the continuity. You like to see the consistency of getting these same guys out there, much more familiarized, playing with them, playing with one another. And it's something to keep building on. And I've really appreciated that about this 11 that we've been rolling out here pretty consistently.
Well, I will, just going back to the player ratings on FOTMob, which again are certainly not everything. Brad Stuver, 8.1, man of the match. We'll certainly talk about Brad Stuver. And hey, Johan, the best FOTMob rating out of the field players.
My apologies, Bradley Scott. But we will not, trust me. Well, yeah, we'll get into that, man, for sure.
Yeah. So let's jump into this one. Second minute, Fafa Pico. Immediately taking on Gallagher down the left here and gets his first of many dangerous crosses into the area. This one skips just behind Brian White and is cleared by Cascante, but I know Fafa has given us trouble throughout our 3+ seasons here. No matter which team he's been with, it feels like it's a new one every season. But man, was he I felt like he was more dangerous last night, even without scoring, which again, he has multiple goals against us in his career.
Yeah.
He was a nuisance all night.
Made his presence felt right away and let Johnny know that he was going to have a long night dealing with him. And this is definitely not the last that we're going to be talking about Fafa here, because he was a threat consistently and was giving us issues, but we still were able to corral him to the best of our ability. He definitely missed a couple opportunities, and we'll take that.
In the Austin, the little green molehills on the momentum chart were few and far between last night. But here in the 10th minute, Austin wins a ball in the offensive third off a bad throw. I don't remember off the top of my head who got their head to this one, but it was headed towards that Vancouver penalty area and takes a bounce as Diego Rubio uses his body well to shield his defender. And I think the secondary defender that was in the area probably could have done better to read this ball here, but we'll take it because Diego, again, uses that body well, actually gets his head to it, heads it down to himself where he's basically in on Yohei Takaoka. Unfortunately sent the ball straight at the keeper out for a corner. Then that corner directed towards the near post, but out for a second corner. Rigoni whips that second one in, but gets cleared away for a throw. And Austin winning the first two corners of the night there. And that would be where they stopped winning corner kicks. And man, I think Diego Rubio can do better here. I think that should have been a goal.
Quite fair assessment. He definitely wants that one back. And, that's the guy we want to have the ball with, in that area, in that dangerous zone. And he definitely wants that one back.
Yeah. And so, again, that ended up being that was credited with a big chance and was the only shot on target of the match for Austin. 15th minute here. Vancouver working it left to right around their horseshoe, which we'll take a peek at a graphic a little bit later. The horseshoe was strong with our opponent again last night. It continues to make me feel good that it's not us being stuck in that horseshoe of sadness. They do make some inroads down the right here and then find Brian White in the middle of the Austin half, and he makes an initial attempt at a through ball here, and it's deflected up and away by the Punisher. But White runs back onto it here on the left side of the box, and then he pops it up and over Obrian, little cheeky piece of skill there, and then launches across. This time Fafa's in the penalty area, and he rises up, heads it on frame, and is denied by Stuver, who pushes it up and over. And in the notes here, beginning of another top-tier performance from Bradley Scott Stuver. And that was accurate.
Yep. I mean, hottest keeper in the league right now. Three consecutive clean sheets. I don't know. I can't list a keeper that I think has been playing better thus far this season, particularly in this last month and a half here. He's been absolutely tremendous. He's locked in, focused, and that Brian White play was pretty cheeky, and not the last time he chips somebody in this game and runs around him, because he gets Julio later as well.
Yeah.
He's fun to
Man,
watch.
I also said in one of our mini group chats that Brian White looks like TJ McConnell. So any of our NBA heads that listen to the pod, you can let us know what you think about that comparison. 19th minute here, E. Whitecaps keeping the pressure on in the Austin half. Atakubi, who's proving to be a pest on the opposite side of Fafa, especially defensively, wins the ball back here and starts the break in the Austin half. He finds Ryan Gauld, slides it right back to Atakubi, a little give and go on that right side, and then he whips it in. It skims off the head of Gauld, who had charged into the area, and that ball bounces off of Fafa, and Gauld pokes the loose ball through the legs of Brendan Heinzike and past Bradley Stuver. But then this goes to VAR and is ultimately overturned for a handball. So what were your thoughts on this play and then the ultimate overturn there by the official?
So with, correct me if I pronounce this wrong, which I probably am. It's Abakude?
Atakubi is what I got from their press release when he signed.
Okay. He was dangerous, and it was a big get for us when he comes up here a little limp a little later. I still don't you don't get a good angle from the cameras on this Fafa handball. And I can't really get too passionate about the fact that like it was a handball or not, because I was still just trying to get a good look at it, and I felt like I just never did. So a bit of fortune went our way here, I believe, and we'll take that anytime we can get it. We've been trying to create a bit of our own luck here, and every now and then you get some balls like this that just bounce the wrong way. What a game for handballs, though. What was there, like 4? There's just a really large amount of handballs in this game. So quite fortunate to escape here. You get the injury later coming up here, and that was a big moment for us. And once that one went behind Stuver, and then it gets called back, I was like, okay, we might have to win this one or salvage this point as best we can with some fortune and some ugliness. And this was the start of a long night for them, frustrating night indeed for this Vancouver Whitecaps team. So we'll take it when it comes our way, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, I thought at the time and wrote in the notes here after rewatching this morning, I feel like I've seen this not called.
Yeah.
But I'll take it.
Yeah.
We'll certainly take it. So off the restart here, 24th minute. Austin gets some momentum down the left here. Biru, Driussi, Rubio, then Rigoni finding space, some tight clinical passing there, which we did not see a ton of.
Nope.
Pretty sloppy, I think, on the offensive side of the ball last night. But here, Rigoni again gets that space and then blasts in a totally non-threatening cross with nobody in the vicinity, and that possession is squandered out for a throw. I think Rigoni, again, like, it's not like we were pushing all these chips back in on Emmy. And I still going forward would rather see him start than Finley. I would rather see Owen Wolff start than either of those guys right now. And like we say later in the interview with Tom, like, it's not because any of those guys is our answer for the future on the wing. I just think Owen is the most reliable on both sides of the ball right now. And Emmy can do, like, maybe not so much better, but like there's just I thought it was very poor decision making from him. And again, it lines up with what we've seen the majority of this season out of him. So I'm hoping he can kind of pick it back up to more what we saw against the Galaxy, where, like, again, he wasn't spectacular, but I thought he limited those type of what I would deem brain farts. I thought he limited those better last weekend than he did on the road here.
Yeah, he had a rough game for sure. Not that anybody on the offensive side of the ball really stood out, right. And he's kind of an easy target to pick on here. But yes, this was a poor decision. And when he compounds the usual, like, we have the little running thing going here with like Haider Obrion's daily battle with his first touch. You have your daily battles with Emmy just like losing the ball or not being completely invested in moving the ball forward. And then when you compound that stuff with really poor decision making, that's when it really starts to highlight the struggles he's had this season. What's your take on Owen not getting the start here? If he's full go, like, is it because he's more versatile off the bench and we can move him around a bit more in different positions? Because if you start him over Emmy, which I am in that camp for sure. I want Owen to be starting there. And again, not because I think that is the answer to everything that we need to figure out on the offensive side of the ball, but he provides two-way play that we really need desperately. So I was curious to get your thoughts on that and why you think maybe we've seen a bit of a shift here.
I wasn't super upset about it. Again, for the reason that you mentioned, that like then it does give you those fresh legs off the bench and you can insert them in various positions, right? Which we've seen. But I also think he's one of the guys that I can count on, I feel like, for 90 minutes. Yeah. And I think we can shift him from playing a right wing or a left wing position for the first 60 minutes. And if he has to go play a wing back position, if we go more defensive later on, or shift to the middle of the park if we're pulling off one of those midfielders, like I feel okay with that. So I would have liked to see the start ultimately, but I wasn't complaining at the time, and I certainly am not now. And again, I think the player profile, the roster designation, the salary, I do think it plays into the decision making a little bit. Whether it should or not is a different conversation, maybe. I'm not super hung up on that starting spot between those two right now, because we still get, I think, some, like you mentioned, like there's some advantages to bringing Owen Wolff off the bench as well, especially in a game like this.
Yeah. Okay. That's where I'm at with that too, just because he gives us a bit more versatility. And, even though like you start him though, like you can still move him around depending on who you pull. Yeah. So maybe he's not fully fit. I don't know. Maybe that ankle still giving him a little issues, but he put in a decent shift.
Yeah. 33rd minute here. Austin, I thought deals well with a long ball into Fafa after Rubio loses the ball in the offensive half, and maybe a foul here. Diego certainly thought so. Off the corner here that they win, Fafa winds up a shot from the edge of the area that takes a deflection and luckily floats right into the hands of Stuver. Like ended up being pretty harmless, but taking that deflection, it could have gone anywhere. And again, Fafa just being extremely dangerous throughout this entire match.
Yep. And again, the getting deflections on these shots, containing these dudes outside of the box is part of our game plan. And we're going to roll the dice with these deflections and how they come off and hope that Stuver can deal with them. And we did. We dealt with them. And that's all that matters.
35th minute here. I thought Rigoni did well on this play to play Guilherme Biru into some space. And Biru's cross is deflected up and over Obrian, who was making a run near that back post. Obrian chases Ali Ahmed out, and Ahmed tries to clear it and whiffs and falls on his ass here. Austin wins a long throw. And on that throw, they can't quite get the flick on, but Ring comes down with the ball, and then it goes out for a corner. But no, they award a goal kick here. And I thought this seemed like the wrong call at the time and on the replay here. So tough break there, I think, from the officials for Austin, because all of them were saying like, yo, Alex turns to the side judge or the line judge there and is like, yo, are you awake? That was a clear corner. I didn't have an argument with him there. 36th minute. Julio, one of the only times on the night that I saw him get sucked out of position, comes way out towards that far sideline from the broadcast camera in Vancouver with some tight passing, eventually open space for Ryan Gauld, who fires a shot at Stuver. Stuver deflects that one out for a corner. And then on the initial corner, Punisher heads that out for a second corner. Second corner gets cleared out by Alex Ring. So the defense continues to stand up there. And then a couple minutes later in the 40th is where Adekubi pulls up and has to come off. And it takes a few minutes for them to get Ryan Raposo ready to come on and replace him. But as you kind of hinted at earlier, even though Raposo was very good and dangerous himself, I think we caught a break with this injury too.
Yeah, and I was going to say Raposo did put in a really solid shift, and he has some plays here coming up in the second half where I was like, damn, dude, like great ball there. Like it's just some really nice plays by him. But this did, flip again. It was a momentum sucking kind of moment for Vancouver, and they had to deal with this consistently where it's like you get the goal called back, you get this injury here. Obviously we're going to talk about the PK foul or non-foul, and it's just it sucks the life out of them a little bit. And when we're playing that style that we're playing in this low block, when you have those moments, that's actually a momentum win for us, despite the fact that we're not really doing anything in those situations, because it's a bit draining on an offense to have to, continuously build up and then not get any sort of result from it. We've seen it time and time again, and, having other teams deal with it is quite fine with me.
Yeah, absolutely. 42nd minute here. I thought Johan had a nice looking ball here that was targeting Hodder Obrian over the top down the right, like dropping it right in like probably 12 yards out. But then I think Ali Ahmed kind of makes up for his swing and a miss from a few minutes prior, because I thought he did really well here to get a touch and keep the Austin danger at bay. And then we get 6 minutes of stoppage here to end the first half. And 5th minute, Austin in trouble. Stuver caught off his line after what I thought was a really, really good ball by Ryan Gauld and then a poor clearance by Stuver on the first attempt. I thought it was a good job by the center backs, or maybe just the back line as a whole, to recover and ultimately just cover the ball that comes in. Vancouver stays in possession, though, and Ring ends up colliding with Fafo Pico near the edge of the area. No penalty is given. VAR does recommend that the head official go to the monitor, and he rules no penalty. And as this review is going on, my thought immediately went back to the Klaus foul or non-foul from a few weeks ago. And in from my emotional fan state, I was like, if that's not a foul, there's no way this is a foul. Obviously, that's not how things work in sports, but those are my feelings as we are seeing this over and over again. And, slow motion, I didn't think made it look any better. Ultimately, I think if I'm a Whitecaps fan, I'm upset.
Yep. But you're not a Whitecaps
I think
fan.
I'm as an Austin fan, I think I would have understood if they called this one. Ultimately, I think if it's called a pen live on the field, I don't think it gets overturned to not being a pen. I think it was just kind of one of those that was a bang bang play, and ultimately the head official stuck with his initial ruling. And again, I think we get a little bit lucky there. And as we've said over the last month plus, it's nice to continue having that happen to us after it felt like for such a long time we couldn't get a bounce or a call or a break such as that. So now I'm sitting over here just like waiting for it to run out and us to just go put out a stinker. It'll happen at some point, but not today.
Yeah, let's not rush that. It'll come at some point for sure. Like you said, it's a bang bang play. When they go to the VAR, I was like, shit. They're gonna award this PK here, and we're gonna need Brad to come up huge in this moment. Mm-hmm. The announcers kept pushing that he was gearing up for a shot, and he, has this right arm kind of going backwards a little bit, and his momentum is carrying him backwards a little bit as he's trying to like lean back to get this shot off. So I thought maybe that played a role. I'm not sure, but like you said, we will absolutely take it and get to half and feeling good about it.
So we do get yellow cards here to both Fafa and Biru. And to be honest, I'm not sure why those 2 cards came out, because they came out before the final whistle. And after the final whistle, Driussi gets into it with the Vancouver bench. And ultimately, Driussi is shown yellow when we come back from the break. I don't know what happened there. I know Coach Wolf was asked about it in the post-match press conference. He was like, he just totally avoided it. It was like, I didn't follow up on that. I don't have anything to tell you. And Sebastian Berhalter was a guy who ran over to Driussi as he was walking away from that scrum and kind of put his arm around him trying to talk to him. And I don't know if Berhalter had anything to do with starting that little dust up there. Mm-hmm. But it was getting super spicy here. I want to know what somebody fucking said to Seba, because you don't see that from him.
No, he went, as soon as that whistle blew,
he was hot.
He went right to that bench. Like, you see him running off the field, and he has a clear mission in his mind at that point in time. Berhalter kind of acting, like a bit of a moderator, I feel like, in that situation, because he gets his hands on him pretty quickly. And he's in there with him, kind of holding on to Seba. And, I'm fine with the coach not bringing up what happened there, what transpired. We can leave it to those guys, and they can have some stories about it, and that's totally fine with me. And it's good to show a little spice there, a little feistiness. Like you said, not something we usually see at a number 10. But I'd love to be a fly on the wall there. I'm not. And we run to the locker room, and I'm fine.
Yep, into the halftime locker room, 0-0 somehow. And we come out and right away, 46th minute, Brian White picks up a yellow for a late challenge on the Punisher there.
Yeah, be careful, man.
Yeah, you got to watch out.
You got to be careful, buddy.
53rd minute, nervy moments after some tricky skill by Ryan Raposo on that right side, and fantastic save by Stuver here. And then another key block by Heinzike, turning his back, just getting into position. This goal, if it was scored, would not have counted anyways. The flag did go up. Yep. But it was great to see the guys standing tall in that moment and not having to, again, rely on the flag or the official or the replay to keep the ball out of the back of the net. Again, the save by Stuver was great.
Absolutely fantastic. And, they're out there cheating. There's just some cheaters, out there. You can't do that. Man, we might have to change Heinz name to Heinz Matumbo or something, because this man just gets blocks all the time, consistently getting these deflections that are just huge for us. And, we can focus on the offensive side of the ball and how anemic the attack was. But again, this center back pairing has been awesome over the last month. Like we said, 3 clean sheets in a row. That is not all on Bradley Scott Stuver, as much as he's had some amazing saves in those situations. Those 2 defensive guys in the middle there have just put in some absolutely high quality shifts, and you're seeing a lot of chemistry grow in between them. What do you want to call him, Wembanyama?
I'm a little disappointed
about. Is that what's on your mind?
I'm a little disappointed that you went Heinz Matumbo and when Brendan Yama is sitting right there.
Oh my God. Other people, regular people have other stuff on their mind. Okay.
58th minute here. A beautiful cross from Raposo, wide right, all the way over everybody, just over John Gallagher's head as he's leaping to try to get a touch to it. Falls right to Fafa Pico, who's just crashing on that left side at the far post. Free header, sends it wide. One of 2 chances here in the second half where if it goes in the back of the net, not Stuver's fault. Just kind of stuck there, made himself big, and luckily was not on target.
This was the one for them, in my opinion.
Dude, Raposo was so good.
Awesome, and it's this was definitely the one for them. And like Diego wanted the one back that he had, Fafa definitely wants this one back because Stuver's beat, and there's really nothing he can do because it's a tremendous ball. Johnny's a smaller kind of guy, and he gets caught out here a little bit, and this was the one. And again, you miss a big chance like that if you're the Vancouver Whitecaps, and it just takes a little more life out of you.
Yeah. 63rd minute here, you get Owen Wolf in for Hodder Obrion. And I actually, again, if I'm on the sidelines there, I think my move would have been Wolf for Rigoni here. Because I didn't think Hodder had his best night. Also didn't get a ton of opportunities. And I didn't notice, live or on the rewatch, I didn't really notice him lacking at all in terms of his legs. He didn't look like he was slowing down to me. And I thought we were going to replace both wingers anyways, no matter the game state. So I would have gone Wolf or Rigoni there, but ultimately I don't think it mattered. I think I saw a lot more, of course, just people upset that 33 comes into the game at all, which is we talk about it every week. It feels like. Come
on, man. We love CJ too, dude.
Yeah. And Ethan Finlay.
And it's just, it's not comparable. Owen has put in too much good work consistently this season. And I'm with you, though, because one of the things that was standing out on the offensive side of the ball was that we did have some really good change of fields. And we were catching Obrion over there, particularly Guilherme was being able to put some nice long balls over the top. So I thought that would have been if you were going to score in this game, if you can get one of those just breakaway kind of goals where it's just they're out of position. And that's something we talked about in the match preview with their high line. And they're really moving forward at this point in the game because they're trying to get this goal. And so I'm with you there. But it is what it is.
65th minute, you do get Pedro Vite in for Schaupf, and 72nd minute, Raposo continuing to be very dangerous. Pounces on a Fafa cross here, directs it right at the near post, and Stuver able to secure it with a dive and both hands. 74th minute, Austin, a rare counter chance here in the second half, but still trying to be dangerous when those do come. Rigoni charges with the ball down the middle. He finds Diego Rubio out to his right. Rubio drops it to Ring, holds it up, only to spot Sebastian Driussi entering the box on that far side on the left. Kind of has a one-on-one, so he lofts it to him. And when he made that cross, I was like, yo, like, hold up. Like, we can take a minute or two here. We can get some bodies forward and try to progress it. And then I realized, oh, he's picked out our best player one-on-one in the box. Good job, veteran captain, guy who knows a lot more than me. Seba brings it down, turns towards the middle, fires a shot that's high and wide. So again, I totally get it after the fact, but when he let that pass go, I was like, yo, like, chill out a second.
Yeah. Let us get up there. We'll take our chances with 10 there in a one-on-one kind of situation. Would have been a hell of a goal if he was able to net this one. His hips aren't fully turned and square towards the net on the rewatch, so would have been a difficult strike to say the least. I do want to say one thing about Diego because, there's a huge fan club, and I'm in that club. I love the guy. I thought that he struggled being dispossessed in this game. I think he had 4 dispossessions where, he's one-on-one kind of trying to box somebody out, which is a great aspect of his game. And Vancouver really neutralized him. And, you got to tip the hat to the Vancouver defense in that situation, because Diego can get crafty in those type of plays, not particularly this one, but like the build up here. And, he was taken out of the game almost entirely.
Yeah, dispossessed 3 times in his 75 minutes. And this is where we are in the notes here. 75th minute, Gyasi Zardes in for Diego Rubio. 77th minute here, Ryan Gauld, maybe the best chance of the night here. Brian White beats Julio to a ball near the top of the 18. Gauld just kind of takes it right off his boot and into the area. 1 touch and a shot. Gallagher late arriving there. Heinzike slides too low. Stuver glued to his spot, and Gauld sends it just high and wide of that, kind of left upper 90 there in the Austin goal. Another one where I think, again, on a better day for the Whitecaps, a couple of these chances probably find the back of the net, but it wasn't their day.
Yeah, I mean, and again, to what I've been talking about here with these kind of plays that are sucking the momentum out of them, like they didn't, even though that they were obviously the aggressors, you see the shot totals at the end of this game, it was still hard for them to build and get that finish that they were looking for. And, at some point in time, you had to know that the 1-2 combination punch of Brian White and Ryan Gauld was going to generate something here. And this is a strike that he definitely wants back, because if he puts it on frame where he was aiming, it's a goal.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree. 78th minute here, foul awarded to the Whitecaps just outside of the Austin 18-yard box. I thought that this was some good acting by Vite to sell this contact and win the free kick. Luckily, that shot was put right into the wall that Bradley Scott constructed for himself there. So no harm, 1 foul. 83rd minute here, Stuver. Great save on an Utvik header. I had never seen that guy before. I obviously we see those, the concussion preventing type of headgear that some players wear all around the globe. That guy was pretty active and dangerous in the few chances that he had, but that came off another great Ryan Gauld cross. And then right after that play, we do get Finley in for Rigoni and Kolmanich in for Valencia, which kind of tucked Biru in almost as a third center back there. And I have no qualms with Ethan Finley here, because we are sitting on a point trying to get out of there. And he's got, again, so much more of a track record over his lengthy career, a little bit more stable probably with his game than CJ is at that point. But I would not have hated to see CJ in that moment either.
That's a great point. And I was really trying to figure out our formation here with these substitutions and what we were trying to do, because there's multiple times where it looks like Finley's playing the 9 and G is almost in the Johan Punisher position. And it's like, okay, well, that's something. So yes, it's hard for us to find minutes for CJ. just because
Yeah,
we're
for
not
sure.
really that good, and it's just
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's difficult to find minutes for him, and I know that must be frustrating for him, and I know that the people who are big fans of him and big supporters of him, they must be frustrated as well. But like, the kid has to just do what he can when he gets out there, and this is part of being a professional, man. Like you're gonna have to take your time on the bench a little bit, take it out the chin, and then when you do get your chance, you got to make the most of it, and that's what coach has been preaching to him and in the public facing front as well in that situation. So with Finley, 33 now. And the number one aspect of his game that we've seen since he's been in the Verde and Black is that he has that straight line speed. He finds himself on that back post pretty consistently, but I trust a veteran in that situation 100%.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I get it, right? I get why we bring in Ethan
Yeah.
Finley. 86 minute here. Austin wins a long throw that is ultimately cleared out after pinging around twice in the box. Austin keeps possession here. John Gallagher plays a great ball into Finley, who gets in behind down that right side, and Finley all the way to the end line. Dude, I'm thinking as soon as Finley brings that ball down and is able to put this one into the blender, I'm like, oh shit, we're about to smash and grab another 3 points here.
Yeah.
Like, ultimately, we don't. A little too much air under this cross, I think. As Vancouver, plenty of time to get under it, nod it away, but it falls to Kolmanich, and he takes like a half shot, half cross here. It ends up sailing harmlessly out. I think they did credit him with a shot attempt there. Again, I think in that moment, like, I don't remember. I don't have the field mapped in my head on who exactly was where, but like, I would love to see Ethan Finley, if he can, try to put that in the vicinity of Jassy Zardes. Because even at his advanced age, the one thing he did really well last year is when you gave him a ball he could go get, he put it in the net. Multiple winners like that last season when we didn't have a ton of wins. So like, I would have loved to see him get at least a chance to put this one on frame. But again, it was still good to see the team having a couple chances in the last 15, 20 minutes, as they're really, the ultimate theme of the close of this game was sit back and, hold on to your butts.
Yeah. 9 dudes behind the half field line. I thought we missed Johnny several times on the right side. I thought there was a couple plays where we had him on overlaps that we could have got him the ball in some dangerous situations, especially because, like, he's working his ass off with Fafa and having to deal with all of that. So it would have been nice to get, some sort of offensive touch on the ball where he could have tried to make a play. But, that's 2020 hindsight. But yeah, I was like, oh shit, here we go. Like the luck shall continue.
And then we get to stoppage time here. And they show 2 minutes. Like, what? We'll take it. We'll take it. That was pretty crazy to me. Like, I just don't think we've seen a lot of that this year, like, especially in second halves, even if there's no extended stoppages. We've seen 3, 4. A lot of times we are surprised at how much has been given, but we'll certainly take it here. First minute of stoppage, though. White to Raposo on the break here, and then Raposo back to the middle with a low cross on the ground. It gets popped up into the air by an Austin defender, and then Stuver able to cradle it right on the goal line. And man, you waste enough time on this goal kick with just 2 minutes, and then they win the throw off the goal kick, and that bleeds the rest of the time out. So point secured on the road, another clean sheet. Were you as surprised as I was to see just 2 minutes?
Yes, just because the figure, but then on the rewatch, I was like, there just really wasn't that much time to add to this game. Like, you have the Johan foul early where he stays down for a little bit. The substitution patterns, like when they were coming in, everyone, they got guys off the field quick. Like, everyone was basically walking off the back of the field and they were getting these subs on. So I thought it was efficient. Obviously, if I had seen 3 or 4 there, I wouldn't have been surprised or shocked at all. But a great way to bleed this clock at the end here. Like you said, win that throw in a situation where anything can happen, as this game, is reaching the closing moments in this league where we see all types of goals scored in the final moments of a game. So just a job well done by the men. Like, that is huge. It's a big point, man. And like, it was the mission was complete, successful. And I'm just tip my hats to these guys. Like, to be able to deal with all types of different situations that we've dealt with over the past month with the huge emotional win over Houston, then to show up with a dominating performance versus the Galaxy, then to get dominated in the statistical categories here in this game, but still walk away with a point versus a very dangerous and hot team. You break Ryan Gauld's goal contribution streak over however many X games that has been. I know it's at least 4. So, I'm just really proud of this team right now, and just another chapter in this book of the grit and the fight and the competition that this team shows. I think I texted you and said, this team's the 2001 Baltimore Ravens with Trent Dilfer at the helm. We got we got Ray Lewis in the net there, just stopping everything. So
Ray Lewis.
Yeah, Bradley Scott, Ray Lewis. So man, it wasn't pretty, but I'm not here. You don't get points for pretty.
Yeah, you got to take that point on the road. 35% possession for Austin here once again. So we continue to see that change, over the last month or so. And when it's required, the team is changing things up. Starts with the coaching staff and then the players going out there and executing it.
Exactly.
And that's what you like to see. 24 shots to 4 in favor of Vancouver, 6 on target to 1. Each team with one big chance, of course. Both missed. 11 corners to 2 in favor of Vancouver. And I don't know, man. I go through those stats, and I'm not saying or seeing them with the same type of dread as I did at the beginning of the season, because we've seen what we're trying to do throughout this first third of the year so far. And now we've seen it work multiple times over the last month plus. And again, of course, going back to Seattle, I don't think this game was – I certainly felt more comfortable watching this game defensively than I did that Seattle match all the way back in early March. But again, these guys came into the year with a plan. They're sticking to it, and they're improving as this group continues to build chemistry and connectivity. And again, as you get more healthy, that also helps.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, we've seen it a few times now. So like we're much more comfortable with it. And the contrast between how we want to play at home and how we want to play on the road is stark. But a team that's able to adapt to both of those type of situations is only going to really help you in the long run. And we keep banking points here, man. We're just banking points and banking points. And like I looked at the table after the game last night and I was like, that boy Primo might be a genius.
Yeah. Shit, you might be right. 1.28 xG for Vancouver on FOP-Mob's model, 2.53 for Austin. So it's certainly not the least threatening game Austin has had in those metrics this season on the road. But then you look at the 24 shots for Vancouver and them getting just 0.84 expected goals on target. So man, 24 shots, less than a goal expected, or in terms of those expected goals on target. And then I mentioned earlier, for those watching on the YouTube, you can see that horseshoe in the passing map here from Vancouver. And I can only imagine how frustrated they are and their fans as well here on Sunday.
Absolutely, man. And gosh, it's just what a flip. Like what a change and like just the flexibility and how we are approaching these games has just been so different. And like, Tommy Scoops is going to talk to the flexibility of Wolf and his coaching staff a bit later in the interview. And, he was somebody who just didn't think that Wolf was going to be able to make these types of adjustments to make, to find ways for this team to continuously get points. And we have found this way, and it has been working. And I will take 1 point on the road in this league all the time versus these quality opponents in the Western Conference.
I agree. Checking in here on the table and sitting here Sunday afternoon, we've got New York City FC and Colorado Rapids going off in New York City there. Rapids up 1-0 at the half. No Georgi Mihailovic. So I was really hoping that NYC could grab a victory here because I believe Colorado win or draw is the only way Austin ends the weekend in 6th. A NYC win here again, so hoping for the comeback in the second half would keep Austin in 5th. And again, ultimately, the team is just focused on their business. They're continuing, like you said, to stack points. You don't really need to be watching the Rapids game against NYC. That's for us to do, not the team, because the aesthetics of being 5th is nicer than 6th. But again, regardless of where we end up here in the table, you got to love it, man. 16 points. You look at the supporter shield, we're 10th right
crazy.
now.
Crazy.
And now a third of the way through the season, 11 out of 34. I know that's not perfect math, but you get what I'm saying.
Absolutely. Like you said, like the team here, we are focused on our tasks at hand. We're not necessarily worried about these other clubs, but I can be worried about these other clubs. And I'm just curious about when the last time the Houston Dynamo have scored a goal. It's been 3 games.
Couple other stats, E. I would shout out our buddy, the stat man, Tim Thompson.
The stat man.
Putting out the clean sheet stats today. And these are by season. So expansion year, we had 5 clean sheets. In the 2022 season, of course, second in the Western Conference Finals appearance, we had 8 clean sheets, 6 last year. And then through 11 matches this season, we've got 4. So on pace for the most clean sheets in an Austin FC season. Obviously, a long way to go, and things can and will change. Again, I think you bring in some more firepower in the summer. Maybe we see a slightly less defensive Austin FC as an adjustment during the final third of the season. But again, we've got a whole nother third between now and that summer window. But dude, if we get to that summer window with an identical result through our next 11 games, sitting on 32 points with a third of the season to go, like, you would absolutely take that. We'd be in a great position.
Would be in an absolutely stellar position. And then obviously we don't want to get too far ahead, but then acclimating all the potential signings that could be coming in. And, the league is about to feel the power of Austin's voting prowess, because this man, Bradley Scott Stuver, needs to be sent to the All-Star game. He is just the consummate professional, and just, it's so good to see, because I know we talked to him and we know how hard he worked in this offseason to be at where he wanted to be at. And like, to see, we've talked about how this team has been seeing the results, and that provides validation for all the hard work you've put in. And Bradley Scott Stuver might be at the top of that list, because the way that he is playing right now, and his just ability to continuously be ready to deal with everything that's coming his way is a beautiful sight to see, man. And you look at those numbers and whew, sexy.
Yep. So obviously, and again, the first thing we did after the match was, like you said there, it's time to start the fucking propaganda machine here.
Yeah.
The All-Star voting last year opened on the final day of May, so we should expect sometime around there is when we can start getting our votes in. But you are going to hear us like a broken record over the next month and then throughout the voting period, because it is long past time that Brad Stuver gets an All-Star nod. And again, I think he's maybe at his best this season than he ever has been, leading the league in saves by 14 over the next closest keeper. And then you look at some of the advanced metrics here, and we've got post-shot XG plus minus here, which positive numbers here, obviously, suggest some, better luck or an above average ability to stop shots. Reading this definition from Opta, post-shot XG is expected goals based on how likely the keeper is to save the shot. Doesn't include own goals. The totals do include penalty kicks, but not shootouts if you ever got to a shootout, so we don't have to worry about that here. And you see post-shot XG plus minus, Brad is a plus 5.4, which is the best in the league. But then, of course, some keepers, Roman Celentano, right, for FC Cincinnati, has been hurt. He's been out. Andre Blake, we know all too well, has been out at multiple times this season. So you flip it to a per 90 basis, still first in the league, plus 0.49 in post-shot XG plus minus per 90. So Brad Stuver right now, clearly, both from the eye test and all of the stats you can look at, the best shot stopper in MLS. And if that doesn't get you an All-Star nod, we don't want the fucking game next year.
Yeah, there we go. No East-West, we'll just cancel it. How about that?
Yeah.
Look, man, on a team that's devoid of a lot of top-tier talent, Bradley Scott Stuver is one of the best players on our team. And we have constructed a bit of a game plan that relies on him heavily. and he has stepped up to that challenge and just with great success. You see these numbers, and it's just awesome to see, man. Like I just couldn't be more proud of this dude. He's all class right now, just top of the league. It's awesome.
I agree. A couple quotes from Coach Wolf after the match. Again, I thought he continued to show that, like, things are very clearly not perfect here overall, which we've heard him, talk about since the preseason, but then also just in that game last night as the 1 game sample size in the vacuum of the Whitecaps game. He said, I think there's a lot to be positive from the defensive side. With the ball, we can certainly be much better. The service didn't help us, a little bit sloppy. So there's things that we got to clean up. As always, we've got to keep improving. But then he also said, our guys have committed so hard to the details and the discipline of what defending looks like, and a lot of credit to them. Again, it's another good result on the road. We'll look forward to getting back home, getting freshened up, and another big match against an in-state rival, of course, FC Dallas on the road this coming Saturday. Any thoughts from you on those comments from Coach?
I mean, I really liked how he framed that with the commitment to playing good defense, because you looked at this team last year and how porous we were and how awful we were in transition defense and how many just deadly grave mistakes that we were making out of the back. And you just haven't seen it this year. It has been a tremendous turnaround in regard to our commitment to defense and how we're going to play this scheme that we're going to play. And, again, the validation from seeing the hard work and it's now paying off is just going to continue to propel and move this team forward. Defense wins championships. Again, cliches are cliches because a lot of the times they're spot on. And
right.
This club is committed to playing defense, and we're playing some stellar defense right now. And then you pair that with having the best keeper in the league behind you, and that's a potent combination. So again, just kudos to this team. They find new ways to impress me. They find new ways to keep me engaged. I know a lot of people were disappointed with how that game looked, but I'm down for a heavyweight match. You know what I mean? Like, I'm down for 12 rounds of just who's going to get out of here like this. And we were able to get out of there with that point, and just keep banking these things, boys, and just keep stacking them up, and reinforcements will arrive. The cavalry will come, and we'll see what it looks like then.
Yeah. So unless you have anything else to add on this one, we can go ahead and move forward. And we'll talk last business day. But before we do, just a real quick check-in on
the best keeper in the world.
So Louisville City this weekend, we got more than one of those, by the way, in our club right now. Louisville City was off this weekend, but they do take on Seattle Sounders this Wednesday in the Open Cup. I believe that is 9:30 Central. So I'm going to be tuned into that one for sure. So just wanted to mention that quickly before we talk last business day, and a quick recap of the match at Rapids 2 late Friday night. It was a 9 p.m. kickoff. I know you didn't have eyes on this game, the majority of this game, but I know you saw the lineup, right? So we get the same 11 out there, but a 5-man bench that, of course, includes a backup goalkeeper. So just Ariano, Deanda, Steve Louis-Jean, and then Luke Spadafora, the only 4 field players available for FCTO. So that was a little eye-opening to me. I imagine some of those younger guys, I don't know if they've got finals right now, or they've got another tournament that they were going to with U17, the U17 team. But I mean, I felt good to see the consistency with the starting group, at least.
I totally agree. I think they have found what they want to be rocking out, like rolling out there with this 11.
Yeah. So just a couple notes from the game, and I guess the first one, one thing that I didn't even realize until I saw the Rapids 2 lineup on Friday evening, we're going up against Nate Jones, one-time Austin FC member for like 28 minutes or whatever it was.
Oh, that's right.
We did a whole live stream on Nate Jones before he was shipped to Colorado for that sweet, sweet game. And to be honest, man, like he was very physically present, but I didn't think he looked awesome. That guy would certainly not be getting minutes with our first team right now. So again, I'll take the GAM. First 10, maybe 15 minutes of this one, Jimmy was absolutely cooking their right back. And I don't know why. Did they not have this in the scout? Did the right back for Rapids 2 not have just the physical ability to keep up with Jimmy and cut off his right foot? Because we know he loves on that left side to cut it back towards the middle and take a crack. And he gets 3 opportunities, like clear chances in on net. I think probably 1 for 3 there in terms of like making good solid contact with the ball. I thought Jimmy should have at least had a goal out of that first kind of flurry of chances that he had. And I'm sure he wants at least one of those back.
He comes at you, man. Like,
Yeah.
he doesn't care who you are. And like, they might have had the full scout on him, but he's still coming at you full speed, full tilt. He's shifty, he's fast, he's creative with the ball. And, we'll start seeing the dividends from all of that sooner rather than later, in my opinion.
Yep. So then the 18th minute here, we get Shaik Toure with some space down the right, and Austin bodies crashing the box. Great ball here from Shaik, right to the feet of our boy Bobo, and we get the first Bobo goal of the year and just rocket into the back. And you love to see it.
You love to see it because you love Bobo. You can't not love Bobo.
Yeah. And I'm watching the replay here. Great little cut maneuver by him in the box there to open up the space for the shot. And I was like, man, that shot, like that was like I said, a rocket. Mm-hmm. They must have been able to tie those goals down between last year and this year, because this one did not lift the goal up off the ground like we saw that one Colorado goal last year. And speaking of Colorado goals, second half, tough break here for Austin because Alonso Ramirez comes in on a challenge near the top of the Austin 18 and deflects a ball that ends up going right to Marlon Vargas, who was offside, but I think because we tap it to him, he's onside, and he just turns and puts it in for the equalizer. But then immediately after, like I think the first Austin possession off of the restart, there's a foul, guys come together, and Vargas kind of jogs/sprints over to that little scrum that is happening, little conference that is happening between a couple guys, and he makes contact with Sal Mazzaferro, and Sal sells the shit out of this man, and like the ref totally bites and gives Vargas a straight red, which from my fan side I will certainly not complain about. And Austin up a man with about 40 minutes to go.
And I mean, not just up a man, you just removed their best player.
Yep. Yeah.
Like he's their guy. So that is a massive call. And I can understand if, like I didn't get to see this, but a straight red, especially if there's a little flop.
Yeah.
It is pretty harsh.
Yep. So obviously Austin kind of controls the possession the rest of the way. And in the 71st minute, they take advantage. Irvin Torres pounces on a turnover at the back for Rapids 2, lofts the game-winning goal over the keeper. So at 16 years of age, his first professional goal. So congratulations to Irvin. Yeah, we checked that one off the list. But, man, closing this one out, I give a lot of credit to Rapids 2 here because, like, they kept fighting. They had multiple chances in the last 25 minutes of this game, down a man. And I think if they would have finished one of those off, I think it would have been a deserved, at least a point. But then we go to a shootout. And again, we don't have a victory in the shootouts yet this year. So credit to the defense for, they didn't give up a goal, right? Get out of there with 3 points on the road. But I was pretty impressed after that match with the fight that the Rapids team showed down a man there.
Okay, well, they can take that moral victory and move forward with it.
Yeah. Which is, what we will do as well. Austin FC 2 back in action this coming Sunday in St. Louis, taking on City 2. City 2 currently second in the Western Conference. Austin now 8 points from their 6 matches, sitting in 9th, but still a game in hand on the majority of the Western Conference. And I guess we do have an academy update here to close out last business day for the week. I know that those guys have been extremely busy. So coming from last weekend, U13's 4-0 victory over Cap City SC. Again, that is the other MLS Next franchise here in Austin. I believe they're a South Austin club. Our boy Tyler, 2 assists both to Matthew Stokes, whose name has been coming up a lot on this podcast. Hat trick for Matthew last Saturday. So congrats to him. Sunday, they took on Houston Rangers, tied 4-4. We had a red card early in the second half. Few defensive mistakes let them back in the game. They tied it up in the last 3 minutes. But again, down a man for an extended period, still get a point out of that. And then U14s beat Cap City 4-1 and Houston Rangers 8-0. So the U14s, cooking right now. And then this weekend, U14s 2-2 draw, U13s 1-1 draw, both against FC Dallas. So on the road, getting points up there at Dallas, and we know we respect their academy. So again, academy boys rolling.
That is tremendous to hear. Like those some impressive stat lines there. That's really great. Keep up the hard work, boys. It's great.
Absolutely. So on Thursday, the league dropped somewhat out of nowhere these roster profile sheets, and you can see if you're watching on the YouTube, all 29 teams. So this is extremely helpful to our endeavor here in the roster salary cap spreadsheets that we have at the northendpodcast.com. So we did learn a couple of things, from this chart that the league released. Number one, as we had expected. So I will pat myself on the back for the interpretation of the rule. Danny Pereira, counter to what the league site says, is now occupying a senior spot. But one thing we did not expect, somehow, Matt Bersano, a supplemental roster player, which opens up an extra senior spot that we didn't think we had and gives us a lot more flexibility heading into that summer window. So to me, that was the most important thing we learned from this chart. But we also learned CJ Fodre, options for both 26 and 27 seasons.
Nice.
We also learned that Johan Valencia, rather, is a TAM player, which, if you navigate to the North End Podcast salary cap sheets, of course, we've got some of those cliff notes here, and we can see that here we go, targeted allocation money. Clubs may use the funds to sign a new player provided his salary and acquisition costs are more than the maximum salary cap budget charge. And so we know Johan Valencia on like $445K per year. So again, about $200K and some change short of that max cap charge. You go back to his the press release from his signing back prior to the 22 season. 7-figure transfer fee was the quoted number there, not a specific number, but at least 7 figures, which would put him over, annually. You break up that transfer fee annually over his contract. That would put him over the max cap hit. So he is a TAM player, but you can go to the northendpodcast.com, click on the cap sheets link and see all of this updated. And again, in the next, I think, week, we will get salary cap Christmas. So we will have everything updated here and the full picture, or as full as we can without the public accounting of allocation money. We will have a much clearer picture of the salary cap puzzle. So very much looking forward to that.
Very much looking forward to that. And it looks good, man. The sheets are great. You know, I know I'm biased, but like if you want to see everything that is going on with this team in regard to how we're playing players, what we're looking forward to and everything, that's the place to get it.
Yep. So northendpodcast.com for that. Also, of course, our weekly match preview articles, our weekly MLS picks, which are going pretty well. And let's close out the episode by talking to our buddy, Tom Bogert. I think a couple things that people should look out for in this interview. What happens when we ask him about Mikkel Dessler? And I think it was a little bit interesting to me to hear his thoughts on how Austin should proceed, particularly with their designated player spots and the positionality he thinks that would be the most beneficial for Austin. So we discussed all of that. We discussed the roster transparency, the increases we're seeing there from the league. And of course, when Tommy Scoops, noted Knicks fan, comes by and the Knicks and the Sixers are playing Game 6 that night, we had to talk some hoops at the end of the interview as well. So hope you guys enjoy this talk. Let's talk to Tom. All right, everybody. We teased it earlier in the episode, making his third appearance on the North End. And we're almost 2 years in here. I believe this is our most recurring guest now in the North End. It is Tom Bogert. Tommy Scoops. Tom, appreciate you joining us once again, man. How you been?
What's up, fellas? I'm pretty good. How about yourselves?
Right now, we're great.
Whoa,
The way this team is playing, man. And obviously, we want to discuss the outlook for Austin, but wanted to start today with the additional transparency we're getting, it appears, from the league. This morning, the league releasing some roster guides, and I think, in our opinion, awesome. We already have, like, on our little website we started this year, Tom, we've got some spreadsheets where we've got a lot of that information. Of course, it's not complete because we haven't had this transparency, but I guess to get this started, our question to you about this, do you think the goal of the league, because I know you were talking on Twitter today about the work that Paul has done and kind of pushing towards this type of stuff, do you think the goal for the league overall is to get more on the level of an NBA and NFL? Because, like, I've wanted an MLS trade machine since I became a fan of the league now. So, like, how close do you think we are to getting, like, a Steve Kornacki at a touchscreen talking about trade deadline stuff?
First of all, I don't have to say whether I think. Like, I know that the league wants more transparency and understands, and they understand that they haven't, that they've come up short. And again, this is directly from Don Garber, Todd Durbin, Nelson Rodriguez, some of the, the very most high up in the league office. They did a sit down, all of them, with myself and a few other of my colleagues at The Athletic in March. And they were like, we asked the question about transparency. They were like, look, like, we hasn't been good enough. We understand. Like, they were like, I promise you it is changing and it's going to change soon. And we're working on something, and we can't give you details right now. So clearly it was this. So this has been something that's been in the work for months. And look, we can say, like, it'd be cool to see the allocation money stuff or whatever. Like, I'm just fucking exhausted by hearing complaints when things like, hey, can we just have one day to celebrate? This is a step in the right direction. It is very good. That does not mean that this is what I want the final product to be. I hope the league doesn't either. I guess, like, they told me that they want to keep it, like, I was talking to somebody at the league office today, and they said, hey, like, this is where we're starting. We still want to do more, and, like, let me know if you have thoughts or whatever. So I believe them when they say that, and it's fair to point that out. But, like, immediately just seeing some replies to my tweets of just like, well, actually, like, why don't they do? And I'm like, man, can you just one day, give me one day of just being like, this is cool and good, and let's move forward. So that's where I'll start with that. So yes, this is something that they understand. Yes, I will give Paul Tenorio a ton of credit because he's been banging this drum for a long time, longer than I can really remember. But, like, particularly since he got The Athletic in 2018 as our very first American soccer writer at the company. And then in terms of the trade machine stuff, yes, I know what you're saying, but just the globalization of soccer doesn't really lend to that, because the most important signings, for the most part, the overwhelming majority, come from outside of the league. And it is obviously much more difficult and much more different to do that than, say, NBA, NFL, MLB, where for the most part, all of the players are here, and the best players rather are here. And it's like the same way with, like, MLS Super Draft coverage. It'd be really cool to have what the NFL had Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but, like, it's just not the same, obviously, right? Like, so, like, those are the things where it's going to be different. But the transparency of knowing for sure, like, one thing that they're planning to, I think, have on these roster pages is indicating whether or not a player can be bought down for the DP spot. Okay. So then you can know for certainty that this team could add a DP if they want. Like, maybe they still need to do a little bit maneuvering with the cap and allocation money or whatever, but it's theoretically possible. Houston Dynamo assistant GM Asher Mendelson, they've been pretty good at just tweeting things. Yeah. And he was like, he pointed that out as well. So it's like, this is a team, Atlanta were the first team to put out, like, this kind of roster designation, like, just on their own, because Garth Lagerwey in that club feels, again, Garth, he's talked about it to Paul, he's talked about it to me in interviews, that he's like, I completely agree. Like, I think we should have more transparency, and, like, that's where that push came for Atlanta to do it. And all I'll say is, if Garth Lagerwey has an MLS opinion, I don't know. I assume it's correct. Like that's where I'm gone for a lot of things. So it was nice to hear that he said these, like, saying, "Oh, I completely agree with you, Paul," and now I'm already on the bandwagon too with Paul. It's like, oh, we got Garth Lager. We push him to the front, and like he can be the spokesperson for us because people should believe him and listen to him much more than us.
Yeah. Well, and again,
that's great.
We are certainly satisfied with this move in that direction, right? In terms of like our Garth Lager way, and we take whatever he says is gospel, it's Rodolfo Borrell for us. And so some of the other changes that are coming are the summer rules, but I know E had some questions about that, maybe more generally for the league. I'll let E ask the question. I'm taking over here.
Yeah, we'll get more into Austin and how it's going to affect what our roster looks like for sure. But with the new rules that we have coming into place, like, how do you see teams utilizing that to improve the talent level, like across the league, being creative with how you can sign these guys, bring these dudes on, change their positioning in regard to like how they fit into the designation spots and everything like that.
Yeah.
So what's your take on how like teams are going to approach this to bring more talent into the league?
Yeah, this was an obvious change, particularly the side where you can have 3 senior DPs and 3 U22s straight up. I don't really know why they introduced the U22 initiative and then put barriers around it. Like, I thought that was a little silly, but again, at least they rectified it. I will say, at first, I was like, why did they give it 2 options where now you can do 2 DPs and 4 U22s and the allocation money? I was like, why is it more complicated? And then kind of let it ruminate and let it sit. I like it in that this is going to be a team-by-team basis kind of thing. There are some teams that are going to do 3 senior DPs and 3 U22s, which I think I would do, but I don't feel as strongly about that as I did 2 weeks ago after like kind of talking to people and thinking more about it. Like, I thought for sure, and Inter Miami still might do this. They still just might add a senior DP because Tata wants veterans and Messi probably wants Di Maria, right? And if you can sign Di Maria, go and do it. I don't care, obviously. But if I'm Chris Henderson and if I'm the guy that's tasked with figure out how the allocation money and all the salaries fit, I would do 2 senior DPs, 4 U22 initiative slots, and that sweet extra $2 million of allocation money. Because Miami in particular, every single year, they're going to need to generate allocation money to buy down players on the roster and to acquire international slots. So for a team like that, that makes the most sense for me. Team like Austin, I think it would make more sense that they need more top-end talent. So I would go for senior DP this summer. I don't know what Rodolfo Borrell is going to do, but I would love to be able to just put Alex Ring on TAM like he can be and bring in another senior DP, I think that they need another high-end difference maker with Triusi, more so than squad depth. There are other teams, Toronto FC. I think that they should use all 4 U22 slots because I think that, again, in theory, you have Insigne and Bernadeschi, and again, very much in theory and not always in practice. But I think that they need more squad depth to choose from, particularly with Insigne is injury prone, Richie Larea is injury prone. You kind of go down the list. Like, I like more than I thought I did at first that this is going to allow teams to do different and have things shaped by their roster, by their front office, by their club's culture. And I think anytime you can have more diversity in squad building, it's a good thing.
Totally agree. That's kind of like how I approached it initially when I saw it, not as in depth as you have there, but I thought it would be really great to see how different teams were going to approach taking this on. Now, I don't want to get you too triggered here, but one of the things that we've been doing with Rodolfo Borrell is trusting the process. And
does he also elbow people in the face who are a foot and a half shorter than him?
I don't think so.
He is so soft. Go on.
Yes, we'll get there for sure. But so you reported about Mikhail Dessler and the fact that he's been signed, sealed, ready to get over here. That's something that we have been now following, keeping track of him. He's been hurt. But, what's any updates you have on that situation with him? And then on top of that as well.
I'm sorry. I swear to God, I said who and what? And while you were finishing the question, I just site searched my name on Twitter and that guy's name. And I was like, oh, I swear to God, I didn't remember that. Who the hell are you talking about? So
we've been locked into that one for a long time now. We've been holding on to that for a minute.
Oh my God.
So any news or updates in that situation? And then on top of that,
because I didn't even know who you were talking about at first. I said in February the deal's done. So
All right, he's on his way. We have a small sample size thus far of how Roto has approached this rebuild that Austin has had to undertake after Josh was just passing out contracts and extensions like hotcakes earlier. So in this short time,
I'd say Claudio more than Josh, but yeah.
yeah.
In that short time frame, like how do you look at what he's done and the type of impact that he's had from a leadership standpoint for Austin?
I would just add to that. Sorry, E, that like where we're really coming from on that is the 4 field players that he signed in the offseason in Rubio, O'Brien, Heinzike, and who's the 4th? E? Biru, that's right. Look, you're on top of that one.
There we go. Know who he is.
I mean, all those guys right now starting for this team and in the best run of form, best 5-game stretch since 2022. So like we were hyped on Roto at the start. We're just as high, if not higher, on him now. Like, what's your, I guess, like as an outsider, right?
I give people benefit of the doubt, and again, like I love to look at this and assume that everybody doing this is smarter than me, or at least has a plan, even when I disagree with what they're doing.
Right.
As I can see a plan and be able to see it. So it went from I was giving Rodolfo Bros like let's see what he does, and then in the winter I was like, this dude's major signings is Hodder O'Brien. Yeah. That's it. Like, what's going on here? Like, so I was like really disappointed in what the roster build was in February. And I will say, I still think that they should have done more, but Biro has looked very, very good. The defense has held up like shockingly. I thought that they needed much more than just Heinzike. So I've been wrong on that. Diego Rubio, I thought that was a good signing. This was, I know that one came later as well. But I think that he fits his team really well. I think he fits with Driussi very well, which is most important when building an attack. I don't know if I'm ready to say that I'm wrong about Hodder O'Brien yet, because I still just don't think he's very good. I think that he has a skill set of running in a straight line, and I don't think that aligns with his. I don't think he should be viewed as a starter. Yeah. I thought for sure that Emiliano Rigoni was going to be passed along in some way this offseason, and he wasn't. He's looked better, but the barometer for better was not very hard to walk over. So while I'm not ready to say I was completely wrong, I will say they have exceeded my expectations. Again, going back to Biro, letting Alex Ring play in the midfield has been nice. The pieces fit very well. Again, I think Diego Rubio was their best signing. Hopefully he can stay healthy, because that's like, I don't think anybody's ever questioned his talent, really. It's just like, particularly with Colorado, like they didn't have a Driussi to lean on if Diego Rubio couldn't play. So I think it's a better spot for him. And as long as he can start most of the games, things will be good. So better than I thought. I still think that there was room for improvement in the winter, but if that comes this summer, then who cares, right? Like, it'd be better than rushing into signing a bad DB, right? Or, again, it's easy to spend other people's money. So while I'm saying, they should have gotten rid of Rigoni, like, maybe they tried, and probably they did, if I had to guess, right?
Yeah.
And it's very easy to say buy him out and eat the $4 million fee and whatever his contract is. Like, I don't know, man. It's not my wallet, so I try to go back and forth with that. But I will say better than I expected, but still room for improvement.
All right, we like that.
I think that's kind of where we land right now, especially like in terms of where the team's at now, almost a third of the way through the season. Like, beating everybody's expectations. E and I were probably looking through Verde tinted lenses with our preseason predictions. We had them 7, and that's where they are right now. So I'm going to victory lap that while we can.
Yeah.
that was still like an end of the season. Like, we're going to have a good summer window and bring it. Cause we hang on Rodolfo Borrell's every word in the press conference that he does give. And the rule changes coming in this summer, like, you can only imagine the type of hopium that's giving us right now. So, like, you talked about Ring being able to be bought down, and Rigoni, like, we've been saying, essentially similar to you. It's not our wallet, but like, buy the man out. Like, let's
figure it out. Like, whatever you gotta do.
So I guess my last question there is, like, what do you think is a realistic expectation for a summer ceiling, right? Again, not that you're 100% locked in on this Austin roster. You have 28 other teams to worry about. But like, for me, it's Dessler coming in, and then buying down Ring and bringing in that guy that you said, that high-level DP to pair with Seba and kind of go from there. Because Burrell has given us a 2 to 3 window timeline for this rebuild. And that third window is this coming winter. And I agree. Yeah. And he's mentioned the summer is where you can traditionally get higher caliber players. So any thoughts there?
Yeah. And I'll start that last one first. Like, particularly the European-based sporting directors really always harp on that point to me. It's like, this is when you need to get the best players. It's like St. Louis, they signed all of their key international players the summer before they started. And that was by design. It was like, we think that there's better players, more players, and thus better deals to be had in the summer. And we thank ownership for paying those contracts for an extra 6 months rather than us, scrambling in the winter. So that's a refrain that I've heard from numerous people. So it doesn't shock me that that's what Burrell has been saying. For me, I would, if they can add a high-level winger who is goal dangerous, but creative as well, because Jussi is obviously more of a 9.5 and he is a true playmaking number 10. So it's easy to say it like that. All 29 teams would like this profile I'm building. But if, again, this roster is closer than I thought it was. It is more or less where I'm at right now. And I'd feel a lot better about them with a DP winger that is good and another center back. And I'm not sure about the center back side of things because that wouldn't be a DP spot. And unless that Burrell uses, I'd be surprised if he did, but unless that he uses a DP spot there, that would take more maneuvering, I think, around the salary cap, because I believe he was saying in the winter that they had the hand side a little bit from some of those contracts. And this summer, they would need to have the allocation money to buy Ring down to bring in another another DP. And then how do you find room for a starting level center back on top of that? I don't know. So maybe that would have to wait till the winter. But those are the two things that this roster is crying out to for me.
Yeah. Well, and I think for us, it's interesting to, I guess, first, glad to hear you say winger. We are hurting for wingers right now. 'Cause next to Obrian, who I think I agree with you, if you're going to be contending for trophies, he's probably not a game in, game out starter. The other side is Owen Wolf's our best option right now. And I don't think he's the answer on the wing long term as much as we love Owen here. But interested to hear you say center back. And I think it's maybe just because we've been through so much trauma at that position. Like you mentioned how much they had to play Ring there last year. And it's because we had Kip Keller passing to the other team and Amro Tarek blasting in own goals down in the Dominican Republic, and injury, Cascante goes down in the first match. So
both of those things were only a year ago. It's crazy.
Dude, and they were 3 weeks apart, dude.
And then Alex Ring was playing center back for the rest of the year.
Yeah, and man, shout out to him. He did his best. But to just have
I can't believe you said Amro Tarek.
Hedges, who has been solid when he's played. And Väisänen, Josh said today he's supposed to travel this weekend, so getting him back will bring more.
I just don't trust Väisänen or Hedges. I still like Hedges at this stage of his career. I just don't trust that either of them can play 20 games.
Especially with Väisänen, I think that's totally fair because he has not shown the ability to yet. And we've been wondering somewhat privately, now it's public because I'm about to say it, are they going to maybe move on from him because he hasn't proven to be available consistently enough to be that first choice center back, which I think was the intention when they signed
100%.
So interested to hear you say that. So we'll be looking at that.
And not just first choice, but this is the anchor that other players have to figure out how to fit with him.
Right.
And again, both in, I don't remember what the transfer fee was, but his salary was $650K. So he could be pushing max TAM, or he's definitely firmly in the TAM area. So that's when you spend that on center back, it's like Tim Parker in St. Louis right now. I don't know, because we talking about them a little bit. That is the anchor that every team, Stian Gregerson that Atlanta United signed this offseason, Orlando signed David Bracalo. These are the players that are supposed to be Miles Robinson. There was no transfer fee there, and he's somewhere in the TAM range of hey, you have to not just be a starter, but our best starter and our anchor and our guy who makes a worse center back next to him better.
Yeah. I think it's as improved as the defense has been, again, with that bar that was almost on the ground. you would still like to certainly see more, and they have not been able to replace what Ruben Gabrielson brought to this team in 2022.
And one more thing about the defense that I want to point out, and I know I've said this too, like part of the reason I was so low on Austin was that they, like Josh Wolf was, and I don't blame him. I think it was wrong, but being extremely dogmatic in this is how we play. I don't care who's available. I don't care who's unavailable. And it was just every single game, they're just getting shredded in transition. They've been so much more flexible this year. Mm-hmm. And again, I know that Rodolfo Borrell doesn't want to play with 35% possession. Like, I know that him and Josh Wolf, they don't want to do that. Right. But sometimes you have to get points. Their expected goals, difference is -8 right now. Yeah. So, they're overperforming. But looking at the last two games in particular, they were so much better than the Galaxy to me. Yeah. The Galaxy, go have the ball. Take more shots. They're not quality shots, and we're going to recover the ball. And your two center backs are a combined age of 72. And guess what, Hunter O'Brien? I'm being critical of him. You know what he's really good at? Running straight. So, and he scores a goal. So I love when coaches can adapt to the talent they have, to the game they have. It's a delicate line of tweaking and adapting without changing every single week, which is also bad. But Wolf, I think this year has shown what I didn't think that he had to say. I thought that he was all right, and hell, I'm going to go down swinging my way, and I respect that in some way. But I thought it was just he was going to go down, and he was going to go down his way. So again, I do want to say speak to that because again, I know that I've been critical of Austin, and I try to pride myself and try really hard on when I'm wrong or when again whether or not I end up being wrong in their final position is besides the point. Right now, I'm wrong, right? And I want to be able to, I don't want to do the Skip Bayless thing where it's just nope, I'm still actually right. And this is why. I don't know. It's sports, man. Call yourself an idiot and move on. And so that's what I'm trying to do.
That's our shtick right here.
Yeah, yeah, man. And you mentioned O'Brien in that Galaxy game. We like to say he's in a daily battle with his first touch. And when it works out for him, he can have a game like that. I guess last Austin question here. ESPN reported this week that the All-Star game is coming to town in 2025. Only question I have for you here. What is your ideal matchup there? Because for me, and we talked about this on our episode last night, for everybody listening, we're recording this on Thursday. This episode comes out Sunday evening. For me, it's East versus West. We have enough talent in this league. Okay, well, there you go. Two votes.
Me too.
Anybody who listened to Wednesday's episode, you know my take on it. Anything else you want to add there, Tom?
Yeah. There's 23 roster spots, 25 as it is. There's not enough roster spots to have one person from every team, and you don't have to have that, but it's trying to pick a team, and then it's hey, Jose Martinez, you're going to be the only defensive midfielder. You have to play 75 minutes in this game. I think you said it perfectly. Just there's a lot of talent, and there's a lot of wider talent. I really liked the Liga MX's idea. I liked that better than playing Arsenal. I get the business marketing reasons why. There was still more interest. There is going to be more interest in MLS All-Stars versus Arsenal than East versus West MLS, but I don't know that we always have to pander to the casual. The All-Star game is supposed to be for the fans and for your hardcore fans. So I think that there's plenty of talent to do East versus West. And I just like the idea of rewarding more dudes for their performances and being able to look back historically at more players that make all-star teams when, again, there's 29 teams in the league. There's so many good players, and it's difficult to be he's good, but not an all-star or not best 11. Best 11. I've been arguing that it should be NBA. There should be three 11s. But that's for another point. So, yeah, I like the idea of more players getting rewarded for their talent. And you're kind of in a no-win situation, particularly when you play a club team. If the MLS All-Stars beat Arsenal, it's who cares? They're in preseason. They're missing X amount of players. Arsenal rinses the MLS All-Stars. It's oh, my God, this league's such a joke. It's lose-lose, man.
Yeah. We are in lockstep there, my friend. So, all right, let's talk some hoops here before we get you out of here. Look, man, I have, as a fan, Ian as well, with no dog in this race. I've loved this series.
I can imagine how much fun it's been for a casual. I am jealous of that side.
Yeah, I mean, to have the game 2 finish as it was, and then game 5, and it into game 6 here tonight. I know we're 5 hours from tip here. I know the stress levels are through the roof. How do you see this series playing out? Because we're going back to Philly tonight. So what do you got for me?
I hope. I don't know if my heart could take a game 7, and not like emotionally. Like I think physiologically, I don't think my heart can handle it. Particularly if we move on and go to the next round. Look, as a Knicks fan, a long-suffering Knicks fan, I know a lot about pain. I know a lot about having low expectations. I still cannot believe we found a way to blow that game 5. I'm trying to.
You got to foul Max.
One, don't foul when you're up 6 and the guy's taking 3. And 2, I saw a video of Tibbs is screaming at Deuce McBride to foul. Maxey pulls up from 30 and it hits an insane shot. Unreal. I don't want to take anything away from it, but there should be no scenario in which you blow that game. The same way that the Sixers in game 2 should be saying that about themselves, as great as I thought it was by the Knicks. I can't shake the feeling that those last 30 seconds that I was watching from the side of the road waiting for AAA with a flat tire. So it was even insult to injury for me. I can't shake the feeling that oh my God, I just watched it go up in flames. It was like the feeling I had when Randall initially got injured. I was like, I don't think he's I'm hoping for good news on these MRIs and stuff, but I was like, what if I'm thinking about this moment where we're up by 15 against the Heat or the Celtics, whoever they were playing when Randall got hurt. Yeah. And that happened. And then I got myself believing again because of the performances down the stretch and in the beginning of the series, and just maximum pain. Yeah, I'd still say Knicks in 6, but I gotta say that. That's I'll be living and dying all night with this. This will be funny to listen back to on Sunday, no matter depending on what happens.
That is Knicks fanhood right there. Changing a flat tire on the side of the road, watching the team
brutal
fall apart.
Because I was rushing because I didn't plan to have been on the road at that point, and so I missed the first bit of the third quarter, and I was rushing to get where I was going, and got a flat tire. So completely avoidable, but it's just I've had better nights.
Yeah, for sure, man. Embiid's I can't watch him play anymore, bro. It's gross. He's kicking people and elbowing people in the face, grabbing people by the legs while he's on the ground. It's disgusting.
And look, as a fan of the lore of the 90s Knicks, I can appreciate that side of it, but you can't be whining about calls and all that other crap. And you got to pick one of the lanes. Either you're a tough guy or you're not. Daryl Morey send another strongly worded letter to the league about more fouls, you loser. How many games has he won anything? No.
I do want to say
so soft, bro.
We had you on when we had you on earlier. I gave you the over/under Knicks playoff series wins 1.5, and both of y'all laughed at me, man. I just want to say that. Sometimes you got to admit you're an idiot and move on.
Well, I didn't know that there was a possibility that the winner of this series gets the Pacers in round 2. So.
Yeah. All right. One more Knicks question. We're going back into the past a little bit. I think your thoughts may be different now than they were at the deadline. RJ Barrett, we know, is your boy.
Ship RJ than anything else.
And IQ. Feeling pretty good with OG now, though, I imagine.
Oh, yeah.
What are your thoughts on how they're looking now? Because we got 7 players playing at this point.
Yeah, that's what's funny. It's like the corpse of Alec Burks is somewhere on the bench. Poor Bojan Bogdanovic played 30 seconds before he got injured for the rest of the playoffs. Yeah. That's unfortunate, but that's Tibbs, so that's fine. OG played 48 minutes, is 53. Josh Hart in the overtime game. It's just so funny. But this roster makes so much sense when Randall's there, so there's a secondary creator and scorer. It's funny to watch. It's every possession, Jalen Brunson pick and roll, do everything. I love OG. I assume that there was an agreement on the contract when the trade happened. I'd be surprised if there wasn't. So as long as he's not signed to some exuberant deal, and I think that hopefully that'll be fine. He's somebody that I want to keep. Maybe a lighter max. I would talk myself into it, but I just love him on this team.
Yeah, he's good, man.
Anybody you've got your eyes on for the cap space they're going to have? Because there's big names being floated out there. Anybody who's your priority?
I've been trying so hard not to because I don't want to start trading dudes during the playoff run. But it's been when the Suns got eliminated, I was like, would they do Julius Randle plus picks for Durant? Would they do it? I don't know. That's about it. We'll see.
That's my thought too.
No longer Joel Embiid. If you asked me this 6 months ago, I would have said Embiid. No, don't want it.
Yeah.
I got it.
Blacklisted.
Those vultures are certainly circling the Suns now after how they went out, and hopefully we don't see any vultures circling Austin FC if they drop off the rest of the season. But Tom, we really appreciate you coming on again, my friend. Obviously, you're welcome back anytime. And again, tell the people what you got going on, where they can find you.
Yeah, just Twitter, YouTube, Tom Bogert, The Athletic, read all that. As long as you have social media, I think you'll be able to find it.
There you go. I mean, I was watching one of your YouTube streams like 2 months ago, and you got me into Football Manager. So you're infecting this basketball mind even more.
I love to hear it.
Awesome. Well, everybody go follow Tom, and Tom, we appreciate it once again. Once again, Tom Bogert, extremely generous with his time. Really fun to talk to and shoot the shit with, E.
Yeah.
And again, couple, like, to me, some eyebrow raising takes in there, some responses that I found really interesting. And again, it's nice to, even when I don't agree with all of it, it's nice to see that perspective from somebody who, again, isn't looking through the MLS world with Verde tinted lenses.
It was great to talk to him, man. And, he was having a rough week. So that Knicks victory must have really hit well. I particularly liked when he talked about the different approaches that different teams are going to utilize to take advantage of these roster roles. So I thought that was very interesting and some awesome insight. As always, from Tommy Scoops, we're going to get the petition going to get him down here, get him in the supporters section, let him experience the vibes.
Yeah, absolutely. So anything else for you, E, before we close it out here on episode 140?
Happy belated birthday, North End Pirate, Brian Hensley. Love you, bro.
Yeah. Shout out, Brian. Brian made the pilgrimage up to Vancouver, so he was in attendance. And you know what that means, right? We've never secured a point at Vancouver. I think now we have to just throw Brian over the border every year when we go up there. I don't think he would argue too much with that. That'll do it, everybody, for episode 140 of the North End podcast. We will be back on Wednesday previewing another Copa Tejas clash, this time on the road at FC Dallas. We will preview FC To's matchup against St. Louis City 2 and talk about everything else Austin FC that happens between now and then. Enjoy the beginning of your week, everybody. We will do the same, and we'll see you back here on Wednesday night for another edition of the North End podcast. Until then, easy, and I'm Zach. Vamos Austin FC, everybody. Goodbye.